Hi, my name is Terry Lee, and this is video 3 in our Lapbook series. Now, today we're going to do 2 more folders. We did A and B for the base, and now we're going to do file folders C and D. So you're going to need 2 more file folders. It does not matter where the tab is because we're going to be cutting them down. Okay, so the one you labeled D, set it aside. My dog's here in the room with me, and somebody just stomped down the stairs, and now he's going to bark. Okay, so the one that we labeled C, we're going to cut it down to 7 by 9. So we want it to be 9 inches tall. Normally I like to cut from the seam, or from the fold, but all right, that's 9. Originally I had it as 10, and then I cut it down even more. Like I said, be sure to save these. I'm always joking around about, I'm not going to tell you why, but one this big, you could cut it shorter and make a little flip out of it. And these thinner ones that we have that we cut off, we cut them down and we make little hinges out of them. So that's the big secret. And then we're going to cut it to 7 inches wide, and that'll end up cutting the tabs off. Okay, if you want to save the tabs, save the tabs. So there's C. That's not very hard. And we are going to make the 3/4 gusset. If you want to use the scoreboard, you can. This one's small enough that you can probably just do it by hand, because there's not a lot of messing around. Use your bone folder, or as I believe it's Fiona at Miss Painlot, she calls it the gentle persuader. And now in our base, and it's hard for you to see, but the gusset is right here on this one. We're going to center it on the gusset. And on these, you might want to label what they are on all the pages, because when you go to open and close it, it gets a little crazy. Okay, and then we're going to take our friendly paper clips. How'd a little one get in there? Okay, and then we're going to paper clip it, but we want it to be centered. It's not going to reach that far. It's going to be kind of close, but as close to centered as you can, and still be able to paper clip it. Guess what? You're done with folder C so far. Okay, now let's get out folder D. And on folder D, we're going to cut it to 10 inches high or long, whichever way. In the Lapbook, since it's turned sideways, it's tall. So we want it to be 10 inches long. Might as well cut the tab off now. You know, it'll be easier to cut it this way. 10 inches high. And then we want it to be This one we make the gusset first. This one you want to score it because we're not going to fold it yet. Once again, I like to make a very light pencil mark so I can see, and it doesn't matter where you put it on here as long as you line the pencil mark up and the pencil mark at the bottom is even on the same little row, so that when you score it, it all ends up the same. All right, so now we've scored it. And now on this one, we're going to measure 6 inches to the right of the right side of the gusset. So the gusset is here. See our pencil mark? So we're going to go 6 inches to the right. Yes, I'm wearing my jammies. 6 inches to the right. There's nobody here to tell me I can't. 6 inches to the right. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. From this side of the gusset, we're going to go 6 inches to the right, or to the left. And we're going to measure that and mark it. And we're going to cut it off. You're going to have a lot of manila folder scraps, I'm just saying. That was being kind of wiggly. That's a nice big tab. And now we're going to go ahead and fold the gusset. And it goes on this side. Now, eventually, we're going to have to take it off and we're going to put one underneath it. But that's because it was an afterthought. And technically, all of these are going to be glued on top of this. So I really didn't have to paint that brown, but I was worried about little edges of it peeking out. And so, okay, and so this is going to be paper clipped here and in the center. And that's all for C and D. So, okay, I'm back from putting you on pause, and no, E and F are more involved, and they're going to be a longer video than this, so we're just going to stop at C and D. And what I want you to do before the next video is, of course, you're going to have to unpaper clip these and do all of your inking. Now, you'll notice that these folders, since they're on the inside, they're going to meet here. Now, you're going to have a paper that comes up to here, right? And you're going to have a little gap. And then you're going to have a paper. You're going to have a paper on this page, and it's going to come to here, and you're going to have a little gap. So make sure, even though you know that this underside of the gusset isn't going to show, you still need to make sure to ink the crease and ink, you know, in here like you would normally. You're going to ink around all the edges, and then do the same on the inside. The center of the gusset is not going to show. There are other folders we're going to continue to put inside, and they're all varying sizes. So actually, since they're varying sizes, I would ink all of the gussets inside, outside, ink all the edges. It's better to be safe than sorry, to go start putting it together and then go, oh my gosh, I can see part of the center. We're going to put reinforcing pieces in, but you never know what part you might see, so you might as well ink the whole thing. Hi, this is Terry Lee, and I'm back. I've decided to go ahead and add folder E onto this. First it was C and D, and then, so that's why you'll notice this little jump. And this is how, I know mine looks crazy and goofy right now, but another thing I want to add is that when I cut folder C, you know, I had it folded in half, and then I cut it off to the measurement of 7 by 9. And when I did that, I wasn't paying attention because of the, you know, when the manila folders are folded, one side is a little bit shorter than the other. So I wasn't paying attention, and so I actually like it better. So on the right side of C, it ended up being 6 1/8 by 9, not 7. And then on the left side, it ended up being 7 by 9. So if you want to cut, open your folder to cut it, and cut it that way, because I kind of like the difference in size, if you know what I mean. I haven't paper clipped the bottom, so it's kind of floating around. So mine looks a little goofy right now. I don't have any papers on, so all this painting looks a little odd. But you know, it just feels like leather. I wasn't going to paint all of them, and then I started inking one, and it didn't really look right with this. So now I'm going with this all the way through, and you'll notice it doesn't warp the manila folder at all. And so D remained the same as it was in the instructions, or in the video. The instructions have been changed, that you'll get the PDF. Okay, so for folder E, what we're going to do is we're going to use, I found a center tab folder. That's another reason that we are going to be able to do E. And then I'll talk to you a minute about this little clip-on guy. So we'll set this to the side. You'll have to excuse me, it's early in the morning. Okay, so you're going to want to open the folder up. Now, in my original notes to myself, I cut this in half, but I'm not going to do that because I'll show you. So you're going to go from your center of your center tab. Now, on a center tab, it's easy to find where the middle is, because this is 4 inches wide and it's centered. So if you go in 2 inches, make sure you're at the part where it's 4 inches wide. If you go in 2 inches, that's your center. Okay, in fact, make it really light. You don't want to make it too dark, because you're going to be able to see that. Now mine are going to be painted, but if yours are going to be inked, then you need to be cautious. Okay, so then let me turn to the right page. Okay, from the top tab, the top of the top tab, measure down 7.5 inches. Seven and a half inches right here, and then that's where we're going to cut it off. Now originally I had cut this in half, and then that left me a strip, but when I cut this off now, it's going to leave me a hinged section that you never know. I've actually added another another piece, so who knows where this is going. And on a side note, we're going to do all of the construction, and then in between tutorials after that, we will do the decorating. Otherwise, we will be doing just this forever, and I think I will lose your attention span, and possibly rightly so. Once you constructed it, you may do yours completely different than mine, but I want to show you some of the ideas that I have for doing this. So we're going to cut it off. So now see, I have a hinged part that I can cut down or do whatever I want with it. And this, doing it this way also leaves you with the gusset lines on this side. So there's some interesting possibilities here. Put this in your scrap box. I have a box now that I'm keeping all the scraps in. Now this one, we're going to create a gusset. We're going to we're going to make sure that it's 10.5 inches wide. You know, we're going to put the gusset, let's see. Let me put you on pause for just a second while I think here. Okay, we are going to do it 10.5 inches wide. So we want to do it from the center though, just like we did on the other one, because we want to keep the tab in the center. Okay, so from the center, just carry your line down lightly. You're going to cover this part anyway, but measure out 5 1/4 from each side. So it's going to be 10 1/4 on this side. 1, 2. Now that was silly. 5 1/4 here. Okay, so now we're going to cut it here. You'll see why I had to think about this in a minute. Because sometimes I write the instructions down, and then as I get going, I get like this idea. You know, good, bad, or ugly, I get ideas. This is awfully close. I really want to do it with the flat side up there, though. I don't know. This is the only center tab one I have right now until my other box gets delivered sometime today. Okay. These scraps are probably too small. Off they go. Now I labeled it E and E on both sides because we're going to, the gusset's going to go down the center, and so I would also label it E and E on the sides here as well. You'll notice there's an extra line here, and the gusset is actually drawn, and that's because I had made a mistake. So I had to cut part of the video out, and now I'm back again. I'm back. I'll be back. Okay, so instead of, I had said 6 inches and 4 inches, and then that was the gusset, but that made it way too narrow. So the true measurement is, once we get all this done, they're going to measure in 5 3/4 inches and 4 inches, and then that's going to give us that 3/4 inch gusset. So what we'll do is we'll measure in 4 inches from the left, or from the right, make a small mark, and then 5 3/4 from the left, and make a small mark, and then put it on your scoreboard. Score the gusset. Okay. And now we've got our gusset. And it fits in underneath part D. I know you would think that this would be E. Or this would, you know what I mean? That this would be D and the other one would be E. But when you think of one and stick it in there as an afterthought, so it goes underneath D and at the bottom. And it's going to have a short side and a long side, and then the tab will be up at the top. Okay, So let's paper clip that in. And then of course, you know, in between this video and the next, you're going to have to ink up C, D, and E. Like I said, I decided as an afterthought to go ahead and add E onto the C and D video because C and D were squares. You just needed to know the size. And so it seems silly to have a 6-minute video as on cutting squares. So now when you open it, let me get this paper clip on here. So now when you open it, you'll have this little section sticking out here. And then when you open, you'll open more, you know, left and right, left and right. And then you will, one of these, I'm not sure whether it's C or not, will close here. This will close here. And then this, something from this side will close. And then this side will close. And it's the larger size. So to recap, we made C, we made C, which is C is 7 by 9 with the gusset in the center. D is 10 inches high and 6 inches wide. We measured from either side of the gusset in the center. Yeah, that's why one side came out a little shorter than the other. On C, I mean. So on D, we made our gusset first, and then we measured 6 inches from the right to the right, 6 inches to the left, and then we cut off either side. And then E, we just did here, where we took the center tab folder and we made it 7.5 inches tall. And then we measured, so this is 7 by 5 3/4. And this one is 7 by 4. Okay, so now just take this back out and ink all around it, and then paper clip it under here. Obviously we're going to be gluing things, but as you can see, all the centers line up, and then we're going to glue each piece down, and then at the end we're going to glue a strip across here. And so that's the end of my time. And I will see you in the next video. That'll be just a second for you and a day for me. Bye-bye.